Yeah, so what's the deal here? You've been riding harder for longer, but instead of getting faster, you're just feeling slower and more exhausted. What if all of this effort isn't just not working, it's actually sabotaging your progress? It seems logical. Riding more equals more progress. Yeah, everyone knows that, don't they? But here's the thing. There's a very fine line between pushing your limits and pushing yourself too far. Overtraining is very real, and it has a nasty habit of sneaking up on you when you least expect it. Instead of getting faster, you start feeling sluggish, your motivation drops, and those Strava PRs just seem impossible. Overtraining is also your body's way of just saying enough is enough, and it's a heady cocktail of decreased performance, lack of motivation, and even mood swings. The problem is that most cyclists think that they can just ride through it, but without the proper rest and recovery, your progress isn't just stalling, it's actively going backwards. So before you double down on your next ride, consider this. Are you training or are you overtraining? We've all been there, pushing ourselves to our limits, thinking it's the key to progress, and I suppose to a certain extent it is. But our muscles aren't just about brute force. They also need time to recover. When you're constantly pushing them to their limits, you're not giving them the chance they need to rebuild. Instead of getting faster, you're actively wearing them down until eventually you tip the balance, and then you're in the realms of diminishing returns, and you're playing what I call the zero game. Yes, I know it's a dreadful cliche that you've probably heard thousands of times before, but it's not about training harder, it's all about training smarter and allowing your muscles the time that they need to bounce back and come back stronger than before. In other words, some of the best riders aren't the ones that train the hardest, they're the ones that know how to recover the most effectively. Building your fitness is a little bit like building a house. It needs a solid foundation. After a hard ride, your muscles are in a state of disrepair, but during the rest period, they can recover, come back stronger, and adapt to the stress that you've just put them under. That's the equivalent of allowing the concrete that you've just put in the foundations of that house plenty of time to set. But then if you go out and do another hard ride a little too soon afterwards, it's like trying to build on that concrete while it's still wet. And if you're not careful, it's all going to come crashing down around your ears. But cycling isn't just physical, it's mental as well. And sometimes, if you've been riding for too long without taking a break, it's your brain that takes the strain. So that wonderful ride that you once looked forward to is now a chore, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to get your sorry ass up off the sofa and out of the door. And when you find yourself feeling like that, it's your mind's way of saying that you need to slow things down a bit. To stay sharp and motivated, you'll need to give your mind a rest as much as your body. So go ahead, take some time off the bike, mix your routine up a bit, run naked through the frozen food section of your local supermarket if that tickles your pickle. You'll come back fresher, more focused, and you'll take on those rides with renewed energy. Another thing to throw into the mix here is that the more you ride, the more risk you have of injuring yourself. And I know that pushing on through pain and discomfort might make you feel like Billy Big Bollocks, but sometimes all that's going to give you is a fast track to some kind of long-term condition. Our bodies can only take so much punishment before it literally starts to break down. And unfortunately, the older we get, the quicker this happens. Overuse injuries like tendonitis, RSI and muscle strains are your body's SOS signals telling you that you're overdoing things. And once you are actually injured, you're not just slowing down, you're sidelined. The best way to avoid this is to listen to your body and give it the time it needs to rest. A day off today may save you weeks or even months of rehab later down the line. So the next time you're considering just pushing on through, remember, brains before strains. Have you ever been on a long hard ride only to come down with some kind of cold or flu the very next day? I know I certainly have, and that's because the longer and the harder your ride, the weaker you're making your immune system. Again, pushing yourself too far beyond your limits for too long can open yourself up to all kinds of infections. And before you know it, you're flopped out on the sofa with some kind of man flu, feeling really sorry for yourself, watching loose women on daytime TV. And all of this can be so easily avoided by simply taking a rest from time to time. But I know what you're thinking. Yep, I'm fine, I can handle it, and what do you know anyway? Well, here are some telltale signs that you might be riding too much. First up, irritability. If everything's annoying you, from the weather to your local cyclists to the number of self-service checkouts in your local Tesco's, that might just be a sign that you need to dial it back a bit. Next up, fatigue. If dragging yourself out of bed every morning is getting harder and harder, or you're just feeling generally sluggish or heavy around the house, that's a red flag right there. And then there's performance. If you're not seeing any improvements, or worse still, actively getting slower, that could just be your body begging for a break. And let's not forget the small physical signs either, so things like aches, pains, and those niggling little injuries that just won't go away. If any of this sounds familiar, it may be time to hit the brakes and take a rest so that you can come back stronger. But yeah, I know, rest days are only for lazy and stupid people, but is it really? The last time I watched the Tour de France, the world's hardest, longest bike race, it had 2 rest days. So if it's good enough for the professional cyclists, then maybe us leisure and fitness cyclists need to take note. If you're looking for some more tips to help you enjoy your rides and get the most out of your cycling, then my free monthly email newsletter has you covered. And you can even join my online community of supportive, like-minded cyclists. All you need to do is click on the link in the description below, and then you can go through to my website and sign up. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.